Okay, hello. Welcome back. I'm happy to see you all. Welcome to the next episode for SEDA College Online. Please take a moment. You can say in the chat or leave on the comments below. Say hello, say where you're from, maybe what's the weather like where you are today. We've got a very good lesson planned today. Got some good grammar concepts to talk about. And some new forms, I hope, that I can introduce to you and maybe work out any confusions that there might be. All right, so I hope you're comfortable because let's get started. So I'm going to start with the lesson overview. So the grammar for today, 3 things: can, could, and be able to. You're probably familiar with these. I'm sure you know can, I'm sure you know could. And so I really want to compare between the two groups, can, could, and be able to today. For vocabulary, sometimes vocabulary is a little like grammar. So we're going to talk about ed and ing adjectives and the rules for when to use which. And then finally, I've got some good pronunciation review, ed pronunciation suffix. If you remember from videos a few before, in a last class we talked about ed pronunciation. Well, it's come back again. So if you have not seen these videos in my previous lessons, please do go back and watch the previous lessons. That way you can know everything that I'm going to say, because this is really just a review. The main portion of that lesson is with past tense grammar in a previous video. All right, so let's start with modal verbs. I'm going to start with a grammar concept. So if you saw yesterday's video, that was also a grammar concept. I'm starting with this because this concept is very important and we'll talk about it all throughout this lesson. So this is modal verbs. I'm sure you've heard this before in your English lessons. Teachers say modal verbs all the time. But I thought maybe some people were not totally clear about what is a modal verb. Why do they have this special name? So that's what I want to talk about. So modal verbs are a special type of auxiliary verb. So just like we have as an auxiliary and verb to be as an auxiliary and verb to do as an auxiliary, we also have these modal verbs. And they're special because they express feeling. So they express, I say a sentence, and when I speak, I have a feeling about the sentence. Do I feel that it is an obligation? Do I feel that it is a possibility? Do I feel a strong intention that I intend to do this? Or maybe do I feel this is truth, or this is something I want? This is what modal verbs help express in language. And this is not just for English, but this is for all language. All languages have this idea. Some do it in different ways, different words, different structures, different grammar, but all languages have this idea. So English does it through this special category of verbs called modal auxiliary verbs. And so what are they? Well, the most important auxiliary verbs are these groups here: can and could, may and might, shall and should, will and would, and then must. There are more, but these are kind of the most important 9 modal verbs, the kind of perfect representations. What makes them special is they don't change. They do not change for time. They do not change for person. They do nothing in the sentence but sit. And they help express that idea. So can and could are for possibility, ability, not possibility, ability. May and might are for possibility. Shall and should are for kind of a mix of obligation and intention. Will and would is for intention very clearly, and must is obligation again. So they all kind of express these ideas. So that's what we're talking about when I say a modal verb. That's really what these are, and our focus is can and could. So to can and could, let's say their meaning. So can and could. Can is for present ability, things that are possible or things that I have the ability to do right now. And then could is just past ability. And it's also used in conditional sentences as well. So that's kind of the difference between the two. And the meaning is very simple, very direct, just that. It is for ability, can is present, could is past. So how do I use them in a sentence? Well, it's also very straightforward. The modal verbs are not very complex. It's subject, modal verb. If it's a negative sentence, not is here. And then the verb in the base form. So always, 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 after a modal verb, the verb is in base form. There is no to. It is always in base form. So here's some examples. David can walk to the store. We have modal verb can, and then verb walk in the base form. Always that way. There will never be to. No one can say David can to walk. We'll never say that. It's always just David can walk. Another example, Anne could play the piano when she was a child. So now we have that idea of a past ability. When Anne was a child, she had the ability to play the piano, so she could play it in the past. Or let's do a negative. I can't dance very well. So if we have that negative here, we put it after the auxiliary and then make the contraction can't. And then we couldn't wait for the bus, so we took a taxi. So in the past, this is a mix, or this is a past example. So in the past situation, we could not wait. We didn't have the ability. Time did not allow. And so what did we do? Well, we took a taxi. So it will always be that kind of distinction for the present and the past with can and could. And just to make it clear, you will have the negative contractions can and couldn't, as well as the positive can and could. All right. But so that's pretty much it for can and could. They are very, very straightforward modal verbs in English. What's a little more tricky is this, be able to. So as I said, can and could, you cannot change them for time. You cannot change them for perfect or for continuous. They are only the one form. So we can only say present ability and past ability. But what if I want to use this in a future sentence? Or what if I want to say ability in a perfect sentence? That's where we have be able to. So it has the exact same meaning, all about ability, but now we can use it in the other verb tenses. So the form is very simple, very similar to can and could. It's going to be subject, be able to, and then the verb in the base form. However, this verb to be here will change for time, and it will change for past and present and future. So I can say it in a perfect example, have been able to. Or I can say it in a future example, will be able to. Or I can use it as a gerund, so being able to. Not continuous, but a gerund, so being like a subject, being able to. Or I can use it as an infinitive, to be able to. So in all of these situations, we cannot use can. We cannot say can or could in a perfect. We cannot say can or could with modal verb will. We can only have one in the sentence. So this is why we must use be able to in this situation, because can and could are not possible. So here are some examples. She will be able to pick you up from the airport. So here we have the future, and she will be able to pick you up. She has that ability. Or Leo has been able to drive since he was a child. He had this ability since he was a child. So again, we're using a perfect example. Or I can use it as a gerund, as the subject of the sentence. Being able to take time off from work is very important. So in all three sentences, the only way to talk about ability is with be able to. because can and could are not possible here. We just cannot use them. We also can say be able to in the past tense, so was able to, and we can say it in the present tense, is able to. And that is where we have some overlap between can and could and be able to if we use them in the present and past. And I'll talk about that in a moment. So there's some pronunciation. Of course, contractions, they're back. We had contractions a lot in the beginning of the intermediate series, and then we had a break, and they're back again. They'll always be back in English. Contractions are forever. So because we have auxiliary verb to be, we have all of the auxiliary contractions. So if I say a perfect example, like have been able to, we have the same have has contractions. If I use it in the present with is or are, we have is or are contractions. Or if I use it in the future, there will be will contractions. So something like, I won't be able to help you tomorrow. It's a future example, and I have will be able to, negative becomes won't. So we have all of the will contractions with this. Or Tina's been able to sing her entire life. That's a present perfect example. And I have has, so we make the contraction Tina's. Tina's been able to. Or I can use it as a present simple example. We're able to participate in the competition. So I have are able, so we make we're able to. So all of these contractions that we've talked about in previous videos, they're coming back again, and we're using them in new environments, in new contexts, so don't forget them. And so this is where I want to make my point about be able to in the present and be able to in the past with can and could. So these two sentences are totally equal. We can participate in the competition. We're able to participate in the competition. They're totally equal. The difference is formality. So if you use be able to in the present simple, it sounds more formal than can. And the same is for the past. So if I say we could participate in the competition, or he was able to participate in the competition, it's the same idea, formality. So could is a little more informal, where be able to is a little more formal. But that's it. Otherwise, can and could and be able to in the present and be able to in the past are totally equal, and you can change them around for no difference. However, for something like the future or the present perfect, they are not equal, and we must use be able to. All right. So let's always review questions with this. So we've got new auxiliary verbs, new forms, so I always want to check questions. So here are my rules. I talked a lot about question formations again in a previous video. I know I keep saying again, previous video. But I do always carry my ideas because we need them again and again. So if you're unclear about question rules, go watch all of the previous videos, and that will be a little more clear. But a quick reminder is that to make questions, you move the auxiliary verb in front of, or to the front of the sentence. That's always what we do in English. You move the auxiliary verb. And if there isn't an auxiliary verb, we add to do. So that's where the verb, the do, comes in for questions if we don't have an auxiliary verb. That really is only for the present simple and for the past simple. Otherwise, we all have auxiliary, so we don't need to worry. So let's look. They can help us repair, or they can help us prepare. Let's make the question. What is it? Can they help us prepare? So there's our question. We just swap our subject and our auxiliary. How about with be able to? Sarah will be able to cook dinner. Question is, will Sarah be able to cook dinner? So let's look at why. So here in the first sentence, we have a subject, an auxiliary, and a main verb. So all we do is swap the auxiliary and the subject. So rule number 1 is what we're using here because we have an auxiliary verb. In this next one, we actually have 2. We have more than we need. Sarah will be able to cook. So we have auxiliary will and auxiliary be. So we always take the auxiliary verb on the left. So will Sarah be able to cook dinner? We always take the first one to make the question. And that's it. For can, could, and be able to, the questions are very simple. We have all the parts we need, so we just move them directly. All right, so let's do some practice with this. So notes, just so to help you remember: can, present ability; could, past ability; be able to, ability for other verb tenses. And then the only difference for can and be able to in the present simple and past is formal and informal difference. Otherwise, they're equal. So how this will work. So I have a sentence here with two choices. I want you to mentally think, choose which do I think is correct. I will show you all of the sentences and then I will show you the answer. So we're just going to go through and decide what do I think is correct or what do you think is correct, not what I think. So first sentence, I'm much healthier now. I can walk in a few months, or I'll be able to walk in a few months. Those are your two choices. Next, they can't go to the party tonight, or they are not able to go to the party tonight. Your two choices there. Which do you think? The next, we love can go out for dinner on the weekend, or we love being able to go out for dinner on the weekend. Your two sentences. The next, Sarah won't be able to afford a holiday this year, or Sarah can afford a holiday this year. Two sentences. The next, my child could walk when he was 1 month old, or my child was able to walk when he was 1 month old. I know, a very amazing child, 1 month old, and they're walking. Number 6, my father hasn't been able to repair my bike, or my father could repair my bike. And then the last one, number 7, my neighbor is very happy because she's finally could buy a car, or she's finally been able to buy a car. Those are your two choices there. Okay, so thinking and thinking. Make your choices. I think this one is correct, or I think this one is correct. Have your ideas ready. Okay, so now that we have a guess for all 7, I'm going to show the correct answers. So for number 1, I'm much happier now. I'll be able to walk in a few months. So here it's be able to because we have will. It's a contraction. It's very small. It's hiding. But because we have will, we cannot use can. So it must be I'll be able to. All right, next. They can't or they are not able to. Well, if you're going, that is because both are correct here. As I said, in the present simple, they are equal, just formality. Probably can't is better because it's a party, so it's something informal. They can't go to the party tonight. But you can use the other. They aren't able, and that's totally fine. So here it's equal. Can't is probably a better for informal. All right, number 3. We love can go out, or we love being able to. Well, here it must be being able to because we have a gerund, and cannot be a gerund. It must happen to the left of the main verb, so we must have being able to. Number 4, Sarah won't be able to. Here, similar to number 1, we have the verb will, so we must have be able to. We'll never have will and can in the same sentence. They fight, so we won't have it. Number 5, my child could or my child was able to. Well, once again, it's both. Just like number 3, number 5 is simple past, so both are correct, no problem, no difference. Number 6, my father hasn't been able to or my father hasn't could. Well, here it must be been able to. Similar idea as with will, we have hasn't. And so we can't have could after hasn't. It's not possible, so we must use be able to. It's a perfect sentence, a perfect example, and if you remember, can only be simple present. So finally, number 7, the neighbor is very happy because she's finally been able to buy a car. This one's a little trickier because all of the parts are separated and hidden, but it is a perfect example, so it must be been able to because we have she has finally. We can remove it. She has been able to buy a car. So that's the reason. All right. So I hope this was a good practice for the differences between the two, because now we're going on to adjectives. As I said, we're going to talk about ed and ing adjectives. And so what's the difference? Well, ed adjectives represent the person who has the emotion. That's what I'm talking about, my feeling or another person's feeling with ed adjectives. Ing adjectives, on the other hand, are the thing that causes the feeling. It's the thing that makes me feel this way. And so there are many adjectives that have both. So for example, we have depressed and depressing, or excited and exciting, amazed, amazing, tired, tiring, bored, boring, frustrated, frustrating. So we have all of these adjectives, and there are many, many more. I just chose a few examples to show that they'll have both forms, and so you have to know, am I talking about a person's feeling, or am I talking about something that is creating this feeling or causing this feeling in others? So here are some examples to help show, and I have them in pairs. So I am frustrated because of my boss. That's my feeling. Or my boss is a frustrating person. So now it's the same idea, but I'm switching the subject. So I am frustrated is my feeling. My boss is frustrating means he or she, as a person, causes others to feel frustrated. Yes, I'm sure many of you say this sentence. So here's another example. Andrew is tired from the gym. So that's his feeling. He is tired. Whereas working out is very tiring. So working out makes someone feel tired. So working out is tiring. So that's how these are different. The ed is for the emotion, and the ing is to describe the thing that causes it. All right, so let's practice that. So as here are the notes, as always. And in so example number 1. So I have the adjective, but missing the ending, without the ending. So I want you to think, how do you complete this sentence? So football is the most excited or exciting sport to watch. What do you think? Excited or exciting? Well, it is exciting. Yeah, football is the most exciting sport to watch. I realize this is a controversial sentence. Many people might want a different adjective here. So maybe if you have a different sport, let us know in the chat. What's the most exciting sport to you? So number 2, when I'm depressed or when I'm depressing, I listen to sad music. This is for me. This is true for me. I always listen to music that is equal to my emotion. So what do you think? Depressed or depressing? Well, now it's me, my feeling, so it's ed when I'm depressed. Okay. Number 3, Sarah is usually very tired or tiring in the morning. Is it a cause? Is it something causing, or Sarah's feeling? Yeah, well, this is Sarah's feeling, so it must be ed. Sarah is usually very tired in the morning. Okay, next. My old professor was so bored. Or is it boring? What is it? Is the professor? Am I talking about the professor's emotion? Or am I talking about how the professor made the students feel? Well, this is me saying it myself. Oh, my old professor was so boring. Yeah, this is now, he is the cause. So in the classroom, he makes me feel bored. So he is boring. I hope none of you feel this way. And then number 5, do you ever feel frustrated or frustrating by new technology? This is a question. So do you ever feel frustrated or frustrating by new technology? Well, it's frustrated. So we need the ed ending here. Because now I'm talking about you, your feeling. Do you feel this way? So it's ed. So just to make one more time, always remember, I know it can be very difficult to think in very quick speech which is which. So don't worry too much about this. But do remember and try to keep them in the correct category. So ed for a feeling, ing for the cause. All right. So that is, almost everything. Am I missing? So my apologies. I am missing a slide for my ed pronunciation review. But don't worry, because I can return to the previous slide and still talk about it. So the last thing to be very careful with ed and ing adjectives are the pronunciation of this final suffix here with ed. So if you remember again, I'm going to say it from a previous video, I talked about the different pronunciations. So there are 3 pronunciations for ed, the suffix. This is the same for past tense, like I walked to work yesterday, and these adjectives, same pronunciation rules. So we have 3 options. We have a T sound, so t, t. We have a D sound, d, d. And we have an id sound, id. And so those are really the 3 pronunciations of this suffix, ed. Those are your 3 choices. And so what are the rules? How does it work? Well, we use ed, or we use the t sound when the final sound of the verb does not have vibration. So, for example, the adjective here, depressed. The ed pronunciation is a T sound, depressed. Why? Because S does not have vibration. If I touch here, there is no sound. So there's no vibration here, no movement in my throat. But if I make a Z sound here, like in amaze, there is vibration. So if I touch my throat and say Z, Z, there is vibration. And so that is how we match them. So T, 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 no vibration. S, no vibration. So we match, depressed. However, Z, vibration, Z, Z. D sound, D, D, vibration. So we have amazed, amazed. We add the D sound. And then finally, if we look at something like frustrated, we have a T sound. Well, when the final sound here is a T or a D, we actually add a third option, frustrated. This is because if we add a T sound to a T sound, it doesn't work. Frustrated, frustrated. It doesn't work. So we add a third option, frustrated. And so those are always the 3 choices for ed pronunciation. T for no vibration sounds, D for vibration sounds, and then id for T or D. So let's say all of these together, because I think it will help make it clear. So I will start with the sound here. No vibration, so T. depressed. Next one, excite. A T sound. So excited. Excited. Here, z, z, vibration. So amazed. Amazed. And then here, vibration. Tired. Tired. Another R, so bored. Bored. And then finally, a T sound again, frustrated. 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 So we'll add that ID ending here. So just be careful. As I said, I did explain this in a lot more detail in a previous video. So this is kind of just a reminder. Don't forget your ED pronunciation. It's very important. It's always based on this vibration here in your throat, this feeling of movement in your voice. And it will always match that way. T sound for no vibration, depressed. D for vibration, amazed. And then id for T or D sound, excited, frustrated. So it will never lie. Fortunately, this is physics. This is phonetics. So there are no exceptions here, so don't worry. If you learn these rules, you will always be correct. And you can always check. Feel your throat. What is the final sound? Z, t, s, and you'll know. You'll know what the correct suffix is. What's the correct pronunciation? All right. So now, I apologize for missing a slide. I don't know how that happened. But now we've covered everything. We can go to the review. So what we talked about today, can, could, and be able to. So a quick summary is right here. Can and could is to say an action not totally finished in the past, but an action about ability. Something that's true now and something that's true in the past. Be able to is to use to talk about ability in all other tenses, future and perfect. And then so the form, as we said, is just subject plus be able to, and then the verb in the base. And then we have lots of contractions here, which should be subject, can, could, and then the verb. No ed. Don't worry about that. No ed. And then we talked about ed pronunciation, ed ing adjectives, and ed pronunciation. All right. So I apologize that my slides got a little weird, a little messed up at the end, but no worries. You got all the information, everything correct. And if you have any confusion, you can download my notes as always. And in the notes, we'll have all of the correct things and all of the correct slides. So thank you all so much for watching today. Please come again tomorrow or in another time to watch another broadcast in the intermediate series. And of course, if you have any questions, please leave a comment or ask in the chat, and I'll be happy to try to help. All right. Thank you all so much, and I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.